Because I don't know if this has happened to y'all, but I've had several moments like this where I prayed and I prayed, and it's just like, I don't hear nothing. I'm not getting no sign of anything. Are you still going to believe me if you don't see me in your dreams? If you don't hear from me in your dreams, are you still going to have faith in me if I don't send somebody to tell you something? When it goes silent, are you still going to hold on to faith? Are you going to switch over to crystals or calling a psychic? Can you hold on and continue to do my work and continue to have my faith when you're not hearing from me? Can you follow me in the silence? Right? And I feel like this Psalms 42, we're kind of, I feel like that's what the sons of Korah is. Here we are again, top of the week, back with the verse of the day. I use the YouVersion Holy Bible app, and the verse of the day comes from Psalm chapter 42, verse 1, which states, "As the deer pants for streams of water, so my soul pants for you, O God." So immediately they hit us with that strong imagery of a deer panting for water. And I don't know much about deers, but I have some knowledge about dogs. So I know when a dog pants for water, he's thirsty. And then I looked into it, like I looked up, why would a dog pant for water? He's thirsty, he's excited, it's several reasons a dog would pant for water. But then I looked up, I said, let me look up why a deer would pant for water, because he specifically used deer. So when I looked up that, it basically said when a deer is panting for water, they are experiencing extreme hydration. They are in desperate need of water. So now that I had that in my head, when I went back and read, "As the deer pants for streams of water, so my soul pants for you, O God," because that's basically a metaphor. He's taken, the animal, and he's comparing it to him being a human. And that just made me think that, this person, the people who wrote this, where it says the sons of Korah, that they have gotten so far away from God. They have found themselves in the desert. They have found themselves in a dehydrated state. And I feel like that's so common. Like, when we're not intentional every day, we scoot an inch back farther every day. I'm not going to read the verse of the day today. I'm not going to worship God today. Life getting it's not intentional. It doesn't feel intentional when we skip these things. But when we're not intentional about reading the Bible or connecting with God, that's how we scoot farther and farther back. And that's how we get in a position where it's like, I'm panting now. I'm dehydrated because I've been out of connection with God for so long that now I'm in an emergency state. And that happens a lot without realizing it. Like 2 weeks ago, whenever I started doing these daily verses, like I was talking about this with my friend. I was like, I just don't feel as close as I feel I should be. I feel like too far away. I don't like the way I'm feeling. And that's because it was too many days that I let go in between where I wasn't being intentional about building my relationship with God. Now I'm over here panting and thirsting for that relationship with God and wanting to get back into realignment. But when I went back and read this full, like all of chapter 46, what stuck out to me was their faith, the sons of Korah faith, especially knowing their background, because I didn't know who Korah was. So I had to do like a little history research. So Korah rebelled against Moses. So he was against Moses. So I found it quite interesting that the sons of Korah are in alignment with God. They're following God and they're worshiping God. And that points to a lot of things that, God, we're not bound to the choices of our bloodline. Like we can be affected definitely by the choices of our parents and the things that went on in our bloodline, but we don't have to stay there, that we still have a choice to choose the path that we want to go down. So the sons of Korah, they were, in simple terms, generational curse breakers, because they come from a bloodline that rebelled against Moses and rebelled against God, and now here they chose a different path to align themselves with God. And when you read the full chapter, it's basically their cry out to God, asking, where are you? People are asking me where my God is. I'm praying and I'm crying to you, and I don't hear you. But in that, it exhibits faith, because then nowhere in Psalms 46 is it 46? No, Psalms 42 do they say that, they don't believe in God or questioning his existence. They know he's real, and they're crying out for him, waiting for him to come, basically saying, how long are you going to let me thirst out here? So I love that, because that's, to me, read as a very real moment. Because I don't know if this has happened to y'all, but I've had several moments like this where I prayed, and it's just like, I don't hear nothing. I'm not getting no sign of anything. It's quiet out here. And I feel like that's what the sons of Korah was going through. They're praying, but they're not hearing anything. And then that made me think of Job, how Job was basically getting put through the test. God approved, the devil didn't have authority. He had to go get permission from God to do this to Job. He approved the devil to basically torment Job. And that was like Job test day. He's been walking with God all this long. He know God, and it made me think of like how you're in school when you're learning something. Then it's like, okay, test time. Sometimes it's pop quizzes. Sometimes it's you have no idea what's coming. It's a pop quiz. And you've been learning all this stuff. Now it's time to take this test and see what you've actually learned. And during the test, the teacher can't help you. You can't hear nothing. The teacher don't help you with nothing. Sometimes she'll walk over to you and just restate the question to you. But the teacher really is not in a position to help. And sometimes the teacher will leave and it's nobody in the room, but the students, but they're watching you on a monitor. They're watching you to see if you're cheating. They're watching to see your integrity. They're watching to see what you learned. And I feel like from time to time, God do that to us. We go through phases where it's like, what are you still going to believe me if you don't see me in your dreams? If you don't hear from me in your dreams, are you still going to have faith in me if I don't send somebody to tell you something? When it goes silent, are you still going to hold on to faith? Are you going to switch over to crystals or calling a psychic? Can you hold on and continue to do my work and continue to have my faith when you're not hearing from me? Can you follow me in the silence? Right? And I feel like this Psalms 42, I feel like that's what the sons of Korah is going through. And it's relatable because it happens to us. And that's why I love stories like this, because I'm like, that's super relatable. Because I don't know how many times I've prayed and I want to answer now. But you have to be patient sometimes. God just don't give us answers immediately. And sometimes he's trying to answer us, but our mind is just not quiet. It's racing in a million directions. So maybe sometimes the reason we're not hearing, because our mind isn't quiet enough. We haven't put ourselves in a position of stillness so we can hear from him. Because, God speaks to us in those quiet moments. I can't remember. Who was that? Who was on the run? It might have been David. I'm not sure. I got to go back and fact check. But anyway, somebody was on a run and they ended up hiding in a cave. And it was like, the storm came, the fires came. I don't know if it was right, but basically all these loud things came and they kept saying God wasn't in it. And then when it got quiet, that's when they heard God. And that lets us know right there that God speaks to us in the stillness. God whispers to us, you know, we have to be, when our mind, we have to be at peace, and our mind has to be quiet enough to hear him. But anyway, verse of the day came from Psalms 42, verse 1. As the deer pants for streams of water, so my soul pants for you, O God.